That was Donnell Jones. You know what's up. So the way a story is perceived by the public is directly dependent on how that story is told. Case in point, the middle of last week, Dana White, who is the president of the UFC, there was a video of him circulating where he and his wife had a physical altercation. Now, she struck him. He struck her a lot of times. My question isn't about who was at fault. My question is about why it took the media so long to cover such an event. I remember seeing the video, I think early Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and no one, even in the sports world, covering it until that Wednesday. Can you imagine if that event had played out and it had been Chris Brown or Antonio Brown or Bobby Brown? The media not only they wouldn't have been able to stop talking about it. But the fact that the first time we heard about it on the sport, the first time I heard about it, Stephen A. Smith talked about it. And he prefaced his whole story, the lead up to the story, with extolling the virtues of Dana White. Have you ever seen somebody who had just had a physical altercation on television, on video, get their credits and their humanitarian virtues read out before you got to the gist of the story? It never happens that way. Because generally, and I think the young woman who co-hosts with Stephen A. Smith, I'm not going to judge anybody on their worst day, but the media often does that. I remember on ESPN, a young man who had a fight, I forgot what sport it was. They went back at it when he was 16 years old and told us, how violent he was. So the media is complicit in shaping stories based on their biases or perceptions. I don't know who started that fight. I do know this, that if that had been anybody else doing that we would have heard about it ad nauseum. And there would have been people interjecting ad nauseum. We're not talking about some athlete. We're talking about the president of a major sports franchise. Can you imagine Adam Silver or Roger Goodell doing that? Because that is how the media shapes narratives. We know about Ray Rice when he does something. We didn't know at the same time Ray Rice was accused of domestic violence. There was a Alabama Superior Court justice who beat his wife in front of the police, and he still sits on the bench. We know about, athletes' drug use, but we don't know, we hear that ad nauseum. We don't hear about the owner of the Colts who has a car trunk full of drugs. We know about Deshaun Watson's massages, but Robert Kraft, who owns the Patriots, was caught in a sex trafficking ring. So that is how the media is complicit. We know about the Boston Celtic coach having an affair, but we don't see a man who's the president of the UFC having a physical altercation with his wife. And let me just say this. And do you ever see the media giving a story, extolling the virtues of somebody before they tell a story about somebody having a physical altercation with their spouse? Because the media has a vested interest on how we see things, how we perceive things, how we feel about things. Because these guys make a mistake. These guys are criminals. These guys are deviants. It shapes, even the term black on black crime comes from the media. It comes from the Chicago Defender. Somebody said in the story, the media took it and ran with it, and now it is a part of American lexicon. That is how they shape narratives. Why do you think it is that very rich men want to own media outlets? Why do you think that is? So they can tell a story and shape a narrative, and they tell you how you should see you and you should see events. Not the old adage, to the victor goes the spoil, is not as apt as whoever has the camera tells you what to believe. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.